So I'm out here in the woods. It's about 5:30 in the afternoon. All the bluebells are coming out. You should be able to see those in the establishing shots. It's a really rather nice day. There's no wind at all. Really nice lighting as the sun's slowly going down. I've been thinking of doing a variety of videos in the past couple of weeks or so. In fact, I recorded about 3 or 4, none of which came to fruition. None of them got past the editing stage. And I've had this yearning to create another video. And as I was sitting here with my equipment, basking in the spring atmosphere, and trying to think of an idea, I became more and more aware of the fact that everything sounds a little bit strange currently, because I have a history with ear infections and ear pain and things like this, and unfortunately everything sounds a little bit strange even to speak. And the more I thought about that, the more it sprung to mind this idea that I've had of speaking at least a little about and the inaccessibility that people have experiencing nature. I've been thinking a lot about this recently because I've been writing my thesis and just generally thinking about exposure to nature, and especially in regards to what I think of as my main interest or main aesthetic or theme, which is that everything coalesces into this idea of breaking through to the other side, experiencing in some small way the natural world. So things like keywords or terms like the other side, toward that place, or even though it's more metaphorical, the third path of fairy, the third path, this other road that you can take, various things like that. The question, what brings you here, which is a question that a night elf asks to a wanderer in the massively multiplayer online role-playing game World of Warcraft. So all of these have not only a spatial aspect to them, but they also, again, they indicate moving toward a positive direction. And third hemisphere, that's another one. Third hemisphere is it's a term that Francesco Bernuzzi writes about in his papers regarding Lord Dunsany's fiction. So I'm fully aware that there seems to be quite a lot of terms and concepts that I'm more and more becoming interested in, that all relate to this idea of experiencing something beyond the given. Again, I've used that term before. That's actually another example. And I'm just aware that we all have different restrictions, don't we? We all have either physically or mentally. And I've just become more and more aware recently, doing this channel in particular, thinking about nature and actually being outdoors and trying to be outdoors more in order to appreciate nature more, and to do this to provide more reflection for the channel. That we all have our struggles. So this ear issue that I have at the moment, it's not too bad. It does make me feel a bit nauseous, and I can't really hear things as I normally would. The birdsong in particular is a little bit more muffled, but it's not too bad. Of course, I have to wear glasses as well. I mean, I'm short-sighted, so I don't have to always wear them. I usually wear them when I want to actually see more clearly. I don't always wear them. It's another thing. It seems odd to. I'm obviously not complaining about having to wear glasses, and it's not too bad of an issue. But I'm just aware that there are always these little things that can impede. Of course, the human animal is frail, liable to decay, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine having more serious issues. I've had issues in the past that have made me not want to go out and experience nature, but I have the use of my arms and legs. Everything is in order. I can just go out here and enjoy the springtime. I'm just fully aware that, of course, there are people that, never mind, never mind physical issues. They don't actually have nature at all. Just trying to imagine not being able to see or hear or walk. It's like you're denied the world through no fault of your own. And of course you can extrapolate that obviously from the physical, the individual perspective, but you can extrapolate that to the forces of modernity, denying you beauty in the one life that you have to live. It's interesting, I always thought of myself as being more interested, as strange as it is to say, more interested in the non-human side of nature studies, um, engagement with nature, studying insects and wildflowers and whatnot. But there was always, I don't know, there was always that streak of being interested in, or being, wanting in some way to get my message across about, again, the human side. I think that's why that I eventually moved toward the humanities. Not to privilege the human perspective, but just it does fascinate me, these issues of accessibility, and I think that's why that every single one of my stories that I ever wrote relates to being denied places like this. So it seems, in some way, I think in myself, it seems hypocritical not to go out as much as possible. I'm very much aware that every time I say that I don't want to take these places for granted, it can almost sound like faux gratitude. But actually, it's not. It's genuine gratitude. It's just there's a certain way that these things can come across, especially online. What what purpose does this video serve other than to show that I care about these things? So that's where I'm coming from. There, it sounds um, as if I just want to get that message across, but actually I want to try and engage. I want to make other people think about what they have and to not take it for granted. Essentially, that's if there's one practical benefit of these little videos. And it's funny because I feel like I've passed my prime in that regard. Unfortunately, I used to do a lot more. Again, some of you might be aware that I used to do a lot more outdoor nature-related things. If I had started this channel a long 3 or 4 years ago or so, I would have been doing ecological studies and countryside management, which I could have recorded. I could have shown the benefit of getting outdoors and being healthy and working in the countryside and things like this. Even further back, before I started my studies, doing volunteering stuff, I would have loved to have recorded and made the other word in those times, but I am really getting ahead of myself there. One of the things that I've been doing a lot more recently is enumerating the things that I value, and I think that's a good way to proceed. It's a good way to remember what you have, and I would recommend other people do that as well. Not too long ago, I made a little web page where I enumerated 26 of my favourite things, or words rather, of things that mean the most to me. Wonder, nature, of course. Essentially, 26, tracking from A to Z, essentially all the things that I value. And I found that to be quite a soothing and pleasant experience, especially as I was trying to think of the best way of summarizing why this particular thing matters to me. And I think it's a good way of doing that for yourself. It's actually quite a stoic perspective as well, especially when it comes to physical aspects. If you don't have, if you don't have if you don't have the use of one arm, you have the use of the other. That sort of thing. And again, just extrapolating that out, if you don't have places like this, for example, woodlands, real natural places to get out into and to enjoy. Hold on to the little slither of green that you do have. And as I was saying those words, I just remembered my essay that I wrote for Reliquie, called The Gate, about keeping things inside as well. Because the things inside are the only things that cannot be taken away. So I wrote in that particular essay, this idea of holding a symbol within, and for me, I call it the gate. It sounds quite new agey, but it's not really. It's a creative. It's an idea that I think about sometimes. Of holding, cause I'm very interested in thresholds and boundaries and things like this, liminal places. I sometimes I like to imagine that I have this gate inside, which is a source of inspiration, a symbol of inspiration, and also it can be that can be replaced by things like a mountain. I call it a stirring mountain, or an old oak tree, something that you hold within. I'm just looking at a dog. It's like a black Labrador, I think. Well, yes, something that you hold within to remind you of what you do have and how things could be. I can imagine that for people that really do have far more physical impediments, perhaps mental impairments, that they don't take places for granted. I'm sort of hesitant to suggest this, but I imagine if I had more physical impairments, I would actually go out more. I would be forced to go out more. I would try to gain as much enjoyment and spiritual enrichment from nature in particular. Of course, I'm always using nature as my examples here, but I would try to. I'm just imagining, if I imagine myself walking down this path that I'm looking at with one leg, or even just on crutches, I imagine that every step would be more meaningful. This could obviously, this sounds like it could be quite it's a loaded thing to say, but having certain issues, I can imagine, actually does make you appreciate things more and are in some way beneficial. I think this is why art is so important. It's such a simple thing to be presented with other experiences, isn't it? But it's such a powerful thing. I think that's why I was always so enamored by virtual secondary worlds. You inhabit a character, another entity, another being. And that was always quite inspirational for me. Of course, there's a lot of issues with computer game addiction and things like this, but they can, if engaged with in the right way, they can incite you to go outdoors and to try and emulate in some way the character the character of the character that you're playing, that you're role playing. In fiction as well, of course, the opportunity, the chance to experience other minds, other ways of viewing the world. Not only that, of course, but just the way that authors can describe beautiful surroundings. This actually is really one of the nicest days so far. The sun is going down, the lighting is glinting off all the bluebell leaves. Artistic creations, they really can change your perspective on things. They can give you solace where you need it most. Hopefully you found that interesting. Hopefully it made you think about things that you have in life, and particularly about how to retain those and value them more. I think this rather mixed video in terms of the subject matter really indicates where I am currently with the videos, but I am waiting for the height of spring really to make a more of a concerted effort regarding topics. I have a few things in mind. However, I do find that I seem to have covered a lot of the things that I wanted to cover on this channel, strangely enough. That's not to say that these types of videos are going away, it's just that I'm aware that I've covered most of my main interests, so things are sort of quieting down a little bit. But as I say, I am looking forward to spring, and I do hope to get out into the bluebells, sit amongst the bluebells. There's a few around, you might be able to see some about there. So thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time.